Good morning, everybody. We have a very special treat today. A few months ago, I was doing an introductory lesson for a prospective student, and just got to talking with the individual. And you know, like in conveying the benefits of the martial arts, I could see he was already kind of one step ahead of me, saying, "This is what I want for my child." I know. Started talking about his martial arts experience, and instead of really like an enrollment process, it turned into a conversation. In signing up his son for the martial arts school. Not only is he someone that served in our military, but he's an active professor here at West Point. History. He's written a few books based on his experience, and he also has an extensive martial arts background. So when it comes to like immersion in West Point and martial arts and building leadership, it's really like the ideal speaker that we could possibly have here. All right. So with that said, I'd like to introduce Major Antonio Salinas.
Warfare, from Rome to the Middle Ages, to the time of muskets, to the modern day. And even as we speak, it has been a prevalent part of human history. Now, history shows us that it's easier, safer, and more effective to engage the enemy with weapons. At first maybe stone or bronze, then eventually iron taken from the earth and crafted into a blade or a spear. Eventually to muscle-fueled firepower, right? Like the longbow or crossbow. And eventually to the invention of gunpowder, and then to the contemporary, like much more scary things. However, sometimes you run out of ammo, or your weapon may malfunction, or maybe you're in a city. You go around a corner and someone grabs your rifle. Then what do? That's when the warrior has to go beyond weapons, beyond the iron, and uses heart, his muscles, sinew, his knuckles, his instep, his foot, and other parts of his body to protect himself and potentially to end life or strain. Or perhaps you're in a non-lethal situation, right? You're in a riot. Someone grabs you. A warrior must have more techniques than just merely shooting someone. You have to know restraints, right? How to use pressure points, how to use joint manipulation, how to cause pain without severely disabling them. Well, good morning. My name is Major Tony Salinas. I'm going to be talking to you guys about a couple things. But first of all, I say thanks. Thanks to Master P and the Success Martial Arts for having me here today. I'm really happy to be here. First, a little legal thing. If you look at your little notepad here, look at the lower left-hand corner. This is just me talking, right? I'm not representing the Army. I'm not representing West Point. This is just me as a private person talking about martial arts in the military. Okay? So, also, what's in it for you? Most of you here are martial arts instructors or your families. There's many different ways to teach martial arts, right? We can do forums all day. We can break boards. We can go to tournaments. You can do different weapon seminars, different kind of grappling seminars. What I hope to do is give you one more technique. Right? It's one more in your skill set that will make you a better instructor and make your dojos better, your schools better. So that's what I want out of this. How I'm going to do that is, first of all, I'm going to tell you about me, right, a little bit. I have to establish my credentials a little bit, that way I'm not some weirdo in a uniform shouting at you. Kind of show I at least know a little bit what I'm talking about. I'll talk about the warrior way, how martial arts relates to the military, and West Point Leadership Development Program, right? So how we develop leaders, I'm going to share some war stories, how we develop the cadets, and maybe some ideas that you all can use at your dojos. Sound good? All right, so first of all, my story. I was always kind of a weirdo, right? When I was a kid, watching war movies like Spartacus and Ben-Hur and Last of the Mohicans and Braveheart, and I really wondered, wow, what would that be like to be one of those guys? So I was always intrigued by fighting, and my first experience was wrestling, when I was a little kid, and I really enjoyed doing that. Then when I was 13, I got into traditional martial arts, which I absolutely loved. And like many of your students who are teenagers, I started when I was 13, you know, making my way through the ranks. By the time I got a brown belt, you know, you start teaching a little bit, right? And I really love teaching, as probably most of you do, right? It ignites something inside of you. And when I was 18, I got my black belt, and honestly, I give lots of the success in my military career to karate, right? The discipline, the perseverance, but for real, right? Not just on a paper, not the fact of uniform, but it's helped me stay alive in combat, and it's helped me develop leaders like my sergeants to stay alive in combat. That's really why. It's not a diploma, it's not just words. They really mean things. And we hope that no one has to use these skills that we teach sometimes, right? You train years, you train decades for what might only last a few heartbeats, right? All those repetitions for that one heartbeat where it all matters. And it's helped me, and I really, really believe in all that. So I'm also a history nerd, right? And this is back in the late 90s before we were at war most of the earth. And I want to know what it was like to wear a rucksack, right? To carry a rifle, right? To wear a uniform. So I was inspired what my colleagues in the Army call deceived, and I joined the Marine Corps. I joined the Marine Corps. I had a fantastic time. I did some time as an intelligence chief. And then we first started with this weird program called LINE. It means Linear Infighting Euro Override, where the system's based for you have full combat armor on, take people out as quick as you can. And eventually, in the early 2000s, we developed the Marine Corps Martial Art Program. It has a cool motto: one mind, any weapon. It's a really cool motto. And I became an instructor. That's my full-time job in the Marine Corps. I taught martial arts. Then I taught instructors how to be instructors. So a team of 5,000 people. It was me. I had like my own little dojo. It was awesome. Marine Corps martial arts system is a little bit different, right? Because when we spar, we're not bouncing around. What we do first is we exhaust you. So literally, you go like a 3-pound run or a 3-pound pack, climb some ropes, and then you fight, right? Because the military system, if I touch you, right, if I get this close to you, something went wrong, right? Maybe there's no more reinforcements, maybe I'm far ahead on the lines. So you're not going to be feeling good, right? You're not going to have 8 hours of sleep. You're not going to have the creatine and protein in you. You might have remember we ate 3 days ago, right? So that was a fantastic system. I left the Marine Corps in 2002. I got briefly mobilized for the Iraq War. I didn't go that time. I went to California, which was fun. I got out and I went to university where I studied Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I also studied history and political science, and that was a good time. And in 2007, I commissioned in the Army after graduate school. In the Army, I continued to do martial arts with my soldiers. We do weird things in the Army, like you run a couple miles, like at 4 in the morning, then you have to go grapple in the middle of a football field. So different drills. We made a lot of fun. We even do knife fighting, where like you got wounded, they do mace your skin so that you're wounded. Then you have to fight while being maced, which is terrible. And then one time we did it with CS gas, which is tear gas. So again, the realistic training, right? You're not bouncing around, you're not feeling good, you're feeling terrible, you're exhausted. And then you have to fight, which forces you to use the technique, right? Which we drill into all our students. Hey man, use technique. And people try to be strong, and they'll be strong for 3 minutes. And then experience this. During my time in the military, I was first an infantry officer. I did one tour in Kunar province, Afghanistan, and I averaged like 30 firefights a month. And I'll talk a lot about the war stories later on. So it was a very sporting time in the military. After that, I went to Iraq for a year. Then I went back to Colorado. I was a commander. Then I became a counterintelligence officer, and now I'm a professor. So right now I teach classes like the history of Western warfare, ancient medieval warfare, Greek and Roman warfare. You might see a trend in all of these. So I really, really enjoy it. It's fantastic being here. I'm really glad you guys are here because we try to make the best leaders on earth. Right? That's what we do here. Every interaction you have with a cadet is a leadership opportunity. Just like with your students, right? Yes, we're developing how, make sure your back leg's straight, you bend your front knee, make sure this comes all the way back, you're hitting these 2 knuckles. But you're also developing a leadership skill set. And that's what we try to do here, whether if I'm rolling with them on the mats, whether it's in history class, whether we're looking at some weird battlefield. We use every opportunity as a leadership opportunity. And that's what it is, right? You mentor, you try to make them you, right? But younger and better looking, right? So, so I'll first start with a story, with a firefight. Then I'll get into how I think martial arts training and the military relate to each other. So there I was, right? This is June 2009, and this is my first firefight with my platoon. And so say our fort's over here, right? And our forts are literally, you have 90 Americans with like a 6-foot wall, and the enemy is like as close as those mountains are. Like they're looking at you. And we had a report that, a little bit down the way, that they were planning an ambush. And we had one of our like logistic convoys coming through. So my mission was to go stop the ambush. Right, kind of a weird mission as an infantry officer. So we did it, right? Told my guys, hey guys, the convoy's coming through, we have to go find it. So we drove out there. 4 MRAPs, which are like Humvees on steroids. And we're driving out there. And, any combat veterans in the audience? A couple here, one here. All right. So we stopped, and we're checking things out. And it got quiet, like things do, like in a real fight, like that. And the enemy from the mountains shot an RPG at us. And an RPG sounds like, when it detonates, it sounds like what you would imagine the gates of hell opening itself. And it's fear. Like you might talk about fear with your students, but that feeling of fear would be like if I was to put a 200-pound rock rider in here that hadn't fed in a week and had him go for you guys. 99.9% of people would run. Right? It's that self-perseverance you can't replicate. Right? So the RPG missed us luckily, and we're able to return fire. And your adrenaline hits. And I'm trying to tell headquarters, hey, this is Dagger 4-6, I'm in contact, we're shooting, this is what we're going to do. But in those few moments, something felt familiar. Like when you spar, or like when you're getting shouted at in class, you know how you have it's called auditory exclusion, where the time slows down, and you kind of see everything happening. And it felt familiar. And it might sound kind of romantic or cheesy or idealistic, but I truly believe that my martial arts training helped me keep a cool mind. I think it's a part of it. One big part, besides just punching or working out, is many martial arts we develop, right, the character as well, not just the knuckles. So I really think my martial arts training helped me survive in combat. So first of all, I'm going to talk about how martial arts training in the military relate. So who's been in a real fight before? Who's been in a real street fight before? A couple of you. Okay. So, and I'm asking the crowd here, can we replicate what it feels like to be in a real fight?
Go ahead, Jess.
Huh?
Jeff Smith.
Can we? All right, so let's do this. Let's call a real fight, scale of 1 to, I'm a teacher, you have to forgive me, I have terrible handwriting. So on a stress scale, right, 10 being, real fight or someone shooting at you or something, how high can we make it up to? On the scale of like stress to something else, replicating combat or street fight conditions. How close? Who can quantify it for me?
Maybe an 8.
Maybe an 8? Yeah, not bad, right? We can make you tired, right? You can stress you out, right? Going to a tournament's kind of nerve-wracking your first time, and you get over it. We get kind of close. So it's hard. That's one of the things we struggle, both as a military leader and, whether it's karate, BJJ, Kempo, Aikido. We're training people for this, right? Up here. Right? Knowing that we can't fully do it, but we can get closer. So we train and train and train and do repetitions. Some people might look at how we train as silly, right? Like, really, you're doing kata, what is that? Really, you're doing this for an hour and a half, is that awesome? Are you really just stripping for an hour and a half? Are you really doing the straight arm bar for 2 hours? Like, what does that do? And what I do with my students, I do an experiment with them. It's like, I ask them, hey, who likes doing parades and out here? It's hard. I do an experiment in class where, I'm like, all right, everyone, just some attention, right? Raise hand arms, or order arms, just like your students do, right? You can chew these two, right? We'll do it right away, or kick his hands. It's really cute. My 4-year-old now let's kick his hands go up. Or he doesn't know why. But it's instinctual, right? The hands go up, it's cute. But you do that because it takes the pain. Because humans, we're animals, right? So we need something to override the animal instinct of running away, right? When someone's shooting at you or someone's trying to hurt you, right? How do we override the flight mechanism to when we fight we're effective? And I think drilling over and over and over again that helps. Who's ever had surgery in here? A lot of you, right? So you don't tell me what you had, but like the doctor who cut you open, did you know him or her? Like, did you have dinner with him or her? So we allow complete strangers to give us a drug and knock us out and cut our bodies open. This is really awkward. I've done it several times. Why? Why do you do that? I'm asking. We trust. Why? Why do you trust him? This is really weird, isn't it? Let's see if we can figure this out. We're all smart in here. Why do you trust doctors?
Fear of the alternative.
Huh?
Fear of the alternative.
Yeah, right. We might die, right? Or my leg might not work anymore. What else? What else do you trust doctors?
Their credibility and their degree. Or
Their degree, right? So presumably, the first time him or her, lays you down and cut you open, that's not their first time, right? It'd be really awkward if it was. When's the first time when he or she does it? When's the first time he or she cuts open a body? Any doctors in here? Medical doctors.
My
Yeah.
daughter's actually training to be a doctor, but cadavers.
Yeah, cadavers, right? So, I argue whether it's bag work, whether it's a kata, whether you're doing joint manipulation, arm bars, those are your cadavers. Right? You guys are the doctors, right? Because you've done it, right? You're the one. Doctor, comes from Latin dolt, right? To know, right? So literally, you are all, knowable, presumably, right? In your own martial art. So that's my argument. Well, why we do, whether it's bag work, whether you're waxing a kara under the influence of Mr. Miyagi, over and over again. Hopefully somebody got that reference. This is why you do. This is kind of a more military thing, but the term martial, you guys know what martial means? Yeah, from mar, right? So I studied classics whenever I love saying Latin, so mar, right? It goes from Mars, right? So you guys teach military arts. I don't know if you can sell this much, we call it military arts. I'm not. So martial arts, right? Sounds pretty dangerous, pretty cool, right? But not as well. But literally, it means the military arts. One big military art we do at West Point. Now I do teach Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but one thing they're required to do is box. Right? By the way, don't try to read all my notes up here. They're all up here for you in this little sheet. Right? As a teacher, as a good teacher, I can't write effectively, and I can't spell either. In front of people, it's awkward. So we do boxing. Does anyone teach boxing in here? Yeah. So there's like every martial art, there's advantages and disadvantages to every martial art. Why I like boxing in the sense of West Point is that you're gonna get hit. Right? These students are not Floyd Mayweather. If you're a good boxer, you won't get hit, but typically you're gonna get hit. So what it forces you to do, I call it the inoculation of primordial violence, right? You're gonna get smacked, right? And it's, can you think when you're hit? Or, fatigue makes a coward of all of us, right? If you're in a sparring match, or rolling, or in a boxing match, and your lungs are on fire, right? You haven't done the cardio, right? You've been doing too many 40-ounce curls instead of running or doing wind sprints, and you're down. Can you think? Can you function when nothing is left, right? When you go back to the heart. As a military officer, not all the time, there might be a few moments in our lives where we are required to do our profession under the shadow of death-like conditions, right? The worst conditions possible. You have to be proficient. Just like for you all, right? I don't care if it's a wrist restraint, if it's a takedown, if it's an armbar, or if it's a slip and a cross and a jab, or a flying knee, which works sometimes, right? When you're doing it for real, they're under the worst possible conditions. For real, right? So that's why I like you can get better, right, if you inoculate yourself. It's like a vaccine. Doesn't mean you're always going to win, but I think if you become comfortable in that cauldron of chaos, you can function better. So that's my little selling point for the importance of sparring, at least in the military mindset. Eye of the Storm, which kind of ties into that, and I'll talk about it more here in a moment. But when you're developing leaders, right? So whether they're your junior black belts or your assistant instructors, anyone can lead when everything's fine, right? But if you're an effective leader, can you make a decision in that cauldron of chaos? Right? Think of a hurricane, right? The eye is calm, right? Can you be that guy or gal to make those calls when things are going bad? This is hard. It's really, really hard to do. For the military, it helps save lives. And I think for you all, teaching your instructors that will make them better instructors. All right. So, moving on to the West Point Leadership Development System. So, we have a couple pillars here. So it's not just making sure they can run fast or squat. It's different elements, right? So in the military, we focus on your military skills, your academic skills, your physical, and your character. Has anyone talked to you about character yet? Or you may have heard that once or twice here if you're on West Point. You can't throw a rock, and it's important. So this is how we do it here, right? This is how we do it all. This is called, and it's on your sheet, and so don't bother reading my handwriting, right? It's over here, kind of like in this big block right here. It's all kind of outlined for you. I also emailed to Master P, so we can send it out. It's kind of small writing, but I want to do one slide, So first of all, live honorable, right? Live honorable and be a leader of character. So, for military people, I ask my military students, why is it important that you're a leader of character? Right? Like, oh, sir, so we do the right thing all the time. What does that mean? So what I asked them, my cadets here about lieutenants, when you leave here, what are we going to give you? And you're going to get 30 or 40 Americans with heavy weapons. So you have the potential to do a lot of damage, right? And if you don't have character, you can commit an atrocity. So you guys want to hear a war story? So there I was, right? We're driving back from headquarters, right? We drove. Here's nice to see the camera. So we went to our little port over here. We were picking up mail and then poured stuff like ice cream or whatever. And we're driving home. Right? It's about a half-hour drive home. And as we're driving home, there's another little it's called combat outpost. And we stopped, and they're in a little firefight in the mountains. If you can imagine mountains behind us. And they're like, hey, can you guys stop and help? We're like, yeah, we'll stop. So we stopped. We're shooting back and forth. We identified some of the enemy, and we did our thing. And in my truck, we have a tow missile. It's a missile designed to kill a tank, and it's really cool because the image you see, it's like thermal. Like, who plays Call of Duty here? Anybody? Yeah. So the thermal, right when they're hot, all the parents are like, what are they talking about? But essentially, it's heat imaging, right? So my gunner, he's like, hey sir, I got 4 guys running, and they're about 200 meters away from the guy shooting at us. And I turn my screen on. I'm like, all right, you got a weapon? He said no. Back in those days, if you felt threatened, you could still take them, right? Because sometimes combatants will shoot at you, and dump their guns and run away. So what do? You're in a firefight, a couple hundred meters away, you got 4 guys running. What would you guys do? This is hard, isn't it? Being a leader is hard. I went through it, right? It wasn't my area of operation. Let's look at the advantages and disadvantages of this, right? So if I take them out, and they're bad guys, very cool. Right? That's bad guys. But what if they're not? Right? What if they're just kids, like 15 running away? Why are they running? Who wouldn't run away from a firefight? Right? So there I am, in those 5 seconds, I have to become judge, jury, and executioner, or not. Since I was not familiar with the area, I checked on my map. There's a village about 1 kilometer away. We decided to let them go. But that's on you. Maybe they fought us again. Maybe they're responsible for killing one of our soldiers. Later on. This is hard decisions. So by teaching martial arts, what are you giving them? Yes, we're giving them confidence and perseverance and many beautiful things. But mechanically, what are you giving them? Yeah, self-control, right? But also, in the wrong hands, they're designed, right? Look at all the arts, be it karate, all the Brazilian jiu-jitsu, they're designed to do something to another human body, yeah? I know it's not our intent, right? We teach, we have restraint on it. But if you don't have character in your practice, if you're a martial art practitioner, you can cause significant, humans, for those who've been in a real fight or hit someone for real without gloves on, it's really hard, it's really easy to break someone and cause pain. And these are the hard conversations you have to have with your students, right? And yeah, even my 4-year-old, you guys do it, right? Like, when do we do Taekwondo, right? Not at school, right? Only in the dojo, only in the school, or dojo. So this is hard. Like, these are the things you have to go beyond and talk to your instructors as they're coming up, because they're giving them really, really important skills, right? But left unrestrained in the wrong hands, do that. hard. This is really hard to do. And also when to fight, right? You know, so if you're teaching people, so when do you fight? When do you back down? This is hard, right? You know, it's because someone like knocked the book out of your hand in the hallway. Should you go? You know, is that roundhouse kick to the head? This is really, really hard stuff. I think it's important to have these discussions with your students. So the second one is demonstrate intellectual, military, and physical competence. These are putting them all together at once, right? You know, being fit, knowing your craft, knowing everything. And this is where I get back to the eye of the storm, right? This is hard. So another war story for you. So in this case, we were in a valley. Right? We're in a valley. So imagine this is like a mountain valley. You know, here, my buddies went to the mountaintop inside at like 2 in the morning to secure the high ground, and I walked in with the main element. We walked into a village to discuss building a clinic, and having tea with the elders, and everything was fine. So we decided to walk out of the valley. So we walked out of the valley, and we had the other platoon came in the valley, and which happens often in combat, all hell broke loose, right? I mean, they were getting hit hard. They took cover in a ditch. They couldn't get out. My buddy's medic got his IV bag shot up in his medic bag. He got his bleeding, which is kind of funny, but it wasn't. So we moved up to reinforce. So we took a good position. We're trading fire with the enemy, and then we got Apaches, right? Cool helicopters. Like, all right, we're gonna win this one. But the enemy was about 200-300 meters from us. They're getting close, right? So we think of insurgents, they're not weaklings or insanes. Like, these are hardened warriors in uniform. And as the Apaches were shooting, over on the radio, I heard boom, 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 boom. And I heard the most grotesque screaming I've ever heard in my life. You ever hear someone screaming pain? Like real pain? You go out in a car accident or something, like you never feel pain. And on the radio, I heard the guy saying, you know, stop, call him off. What had happened was, the enemy was so close, the Apache shot into our own position and wounded several Americans and some Afghans. And this guy next to me, he was on his radio, he's like, he throws his radio down, and I had my radio man next to me. Like this 19-year-old guy. You meet people who look like they're 14 forever. And he is like, you know, he's like piercing blue eyes, and he looked into my eyes and he said, "Sir, are we going to be okay?" And I lied. I'm like, "Yeah, man, we're good." So I'm not saying lie to people, like, "Oh yeah, everything's fine," but sometimes just having that confidence, right? Just the idea that still is to get people, right? It's like being on a road trip with Dad, right? Dad's never lost. No, we're fine. With that kind of confidence, that's what you have to have to your students. Because things will go wrong. So how do you bring this to a martial art thing here? You know, talk about a real fight. You know, if you've ever been in a real fight, you bleed. Like if you get hit in your nose, my nose is ginormous. It bleeds all the time. Right? It's hard. Like, how do you fight through that? How do you keep a focused mind? You know, maybe it's a tournament, right? Things are going well, right? They seem kind of like lesser on the spectrum. But it's all perspective. A tournament can be the most stressful thing someone goes through in their life when they're young, right? So step back, empathize where they're at, and but talk to people about this. How do you remain focused? Or if you're an instructor, right? You know, 1-4, like my son, my 4-year-old, you're running around. Right? How do you maintain your composure, right? And you guys, your patience is amazing. But these are the hard stories, hard things you have to talk about instructing besides just doing punches and kicks or going through the motions. Yeah. Develop, lead, and inspire. So lead, right? This is not an email. It's not a memo. You have to show them what that means. This is hard. So one time, we were in we're driving back one night, and we got lit up bad. In those first 10 seconds of contact as a platoon leader, you know, so many things go through your mind. Is anyone dead? Is anyone hit? You know, can I win this fight? Do we have to go away? Do we have to leave? So I'm going through that. Luckily, nobody was injured, but 2 of my 4 vehicles were like smoking. So we decided, you know what? We're gonna throw some mortars in the high ground, go back to our Ford, and come back for it. But as we drove back, I told my guys on the radio, I'm like, hey, let's go back to the outpost, switch out 2 vehicles, we're going back. And it was silent. Because nobody wanted to go back. You know, what it's described seemed, but again, it's like your house is on fire. Any firefighters in here? You know, your house is on fire, you're asking them to go back. Why do they follow you? That's insane. So when you lead, it's also building that trust. How do you build those cohesive teams, right? It's more than just seeing them on the dojo floor. You have to know everything about them. So talking about fear, right? How do we mitigate fear? You know, what is the opposite of fear? You can say love, but it's kind of weird. But yeah, I think it's building those teams, right? So how do you get people? So if they have a student, you having your first test is nerve-wracking, right? When you have your first kata or your first punze in front of like the black belts. I mean, you guys, you're gods to these people. You know, so how do you mitigate the fear, right? If it's a tournament or if they're afraid of breaking a board, how do you do that? Think about the steps. Think of different techniques. You guys probably brainstorm later on. But how do you mitigate fear? This is hard. It's a mental thing, right? How do you do that? What's that? Yeah, expose them to it, right? So kind of a trial by fire, you know, by forcing them to do the sparring or so on, the inoculation as well, yeah? Okay. Think critically, think creative. This is about empathy. Another war story. So there I was in this Afghan village, and we had our first meeting with the elders. And we're in this like great room, and they had a circular conversation. Like for example, if Master P and I were to have a conversation, you know, we had a plan, right? Different cultures, they're more circular about it. Doesn't mean they're backwards, they're different. But when I first got there, I was judging them. Like, what are these guys talking about, right? And then they brought this boiling tea kettle, and they poured tea in my cup. And every class I had was like, hey, if they give you food or tea, you know, drink it. So I, I pick up this like glass teacup, which is not the greatest. Like glass is not great for hot tea. And I burned my lips and like went all over my armor. And I was really embarrassed. And I was like, oh, hopefully no one noticed. And you know, this big 200-pound dude, like with like green tea all over him, was kind of funny. And I look at the elders, and they all judge me. Great, another impatient Western Jew. And for that initial moment, I was like, whatever, I don't care. You know, I'm gonna go do my thing. About a month later, I had an epiphany, which I call let your tea cool. Right now, so chill out, man. So instead of going to a village saying, hey, are the Taliban here? And they say no, right? I learned a little bit of Pashto, and the Pashto I still remember is like, Korone de Sengere, right? How is your family, right? You know, Jengde de Sengere, you know, how is your daughter, right? So empathy, and talking to your students, knowing how they really are, right? And we do this, right? We study different cultures. Like my son says attention and bow in Korean, which is awesome. He's only 4. But without knowing it, we're already giving them empathy for foreign cultures. So the importance of that, right? Not just the word, but what that truly means to your students. Initiative. This one time, we were taking incoming on the fort. And the guy who calls an artillery was wounded, he was gone. And our towers, which are like all separated by about 100 meters from the center, was getting hit really bad, and they need someone to call for fire. And they literally said, sir, we need someone to call for fire. And I looked around at the other officers, and they're at the other officers in the headquarters, and none of them moved. Because, you know, those rockets were landing inside the fort. And I was like, all right, you know, let's do this. So as I was running outside, you know, I was saying things like, you know, don't die, don't die, don't die. And a rocket landed like 40 meters from me. I got down, and I kept going for it. So it's having timely decisions, right? You have seconds to make these decisions. So again, here, when you're teaching your students, teaching instructors, it's when to employ force, right? If someone wants my wallet, I'm going to give it to them. I'm not going to take a knife to my stomach or a gunshot from my debit cards that I can cancel in a few minutes, right? But if it's a hostage situation, if you're on a plane, maybe that's a different conversation. But these are the hard conversations we have to have, right? The best way to do these things is maybe after you spar, right? Maybe after you run, maybe after you do something where they're tired, because then they will listen. Communicate clearly, literally, just teach. This is what we both do, right? We're good at this. I don't have any cool stories to go along with this one. The last big one I'm going to hit is resilience. We talk about perseverance, but what does that mean? So one time, this is when I came back from vacation, right? I only had 3 months left in country, and I was driving in my truck, and we got in a pretty good firefight, but it was over. And then the world turned black. Like, imagine the loudest noise take any firecracker gunshot, amplify it times 1,000. My truck hit an IED, like a mine. And in those couple seconds, as the truck's falling down, you're like, you already feel the blood coming down, but you're kind of in shock. You ever been like hit in a car accident or in a fight, and you don't know how bad it is yet? You're waiting. And the vehicle landed, and I feel the blood go down my leg. As a guy, I checked all the important things were still there, and they were. And my baby's arms and stuff. And there's a medic next to me. He patched me up, and we got down the ditch. We were expecting return fire, but we didn't have any luck at that time. So I spent the next week and a half convalescing, getting healed up, and but then I go back on that road. It's hard. It's really, really hard. Literally, we say get back in the saddle. Literally, you have to get back in the saddle again. For the martial art context, people are going to fail, right? I think whether it's a pre-test or something like that, but I failed my first black belt test. It was devastating for me as a young 17-year-old. But I think sometimes you learn more about yourself from defeat as you're testing than victory. And it's okay. And tell your students, if you're defeated, right, or if you go to the tournament and you're terrible. I was a horrible fighter for a while because I was afraid to get hit. And I lost a lot, right? And when you first time doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it's really, really humbling because you lose everybody. It's really embarrassing. Then you get it back. It's good. And lastly, continue to excel, right? So talk to your students about, this is a lifelong thing. The cool thing about traditional martial arts or any martial art you study is that it's not something you turn a PowerPoint on, all right, you're good, right? It's a lifelong journey, right? You're like the warrior philosopher who continually seeks knowledge. So in closing, I want to thank all of you for what you do. Yeah, we get them when they're 18, but you guys are essentially, I think it's awesome, you guys are inoculating a warrior culture. And I think that's incredible. Not that you're necessarily preparing them to join the military, but you're giving them that confidence, the perseverance. Most of the things I already talked about, you're already giving them. So thank you for what you do. I mean, it made me the man I am today as I started martial arts training. And it's success for everything, right? For your personal life, your spiritual life, your family, your profession, and your dojo. So remember how important it is what you guys do here. For both myself and for your jobs, right? So my students do bad here in training, they get a bad grade, right? They get an F, right? For you guys, if they do bad, right, they don't get their yellow belt, they don't get their black belt, they don't get their instructor certification. But in the real world, negative consequences of what I do end up in body bags. And I would argue, for those heartbeats that they really have to use those techniques, right, for those few heartbeats of their entire life, it might mean the same for them. So this concludes our presentation. I'll take any questions from all of you.
Thank you, sir.
It takes a while to get this audience going. Who has some questions so far for Master Salinas? Major Salinas.
That's great.
Master Major.
That's a good.
We promoted him. That's awesome. You have a question?
Yes, whatever.
I have a comment.
About anything, yeah.
I just think that was excellent. The analogies between martial arts and teaching and what you do was awesome. I'm going to bring this back to my people. Thank you so much.
You guess whatever you want about anything. Like I'm a teacher. Yeah, and you will not sound dumb to me. I get lots of questions about all sorts. Yeah, go ahead.
As a professor at West Point, have you noticed the difference in the different generations? 10 years ago, and then now there's new cadet. Any changes in their character as a beginning to train them to become a good leader.
So I've only been here. This is my 4th year here. But the trend is We're a nation at war, right? It's not talked about so much, but young Americans, men and women, students have taught here, like taught history too, like they go, right, and they fight. So that's kind of a different thing, right? So in the latter 20th century, a lot of people come to West Point. It's great education, leadership, and so on. But now, when young men and women come, right, even though our temple's not as high, you're going to go, probably. So you see that now. You see that, and then they'll ask you, how did you get that ribbon, right? How did you, what's combat like? So while they go there, it's like joining a martial arts group, knowing that you're going to fight, for real, right? The Kumite, like John Claude Van Damme style. Great movie, by the way. Yeah. Answer your question?
I mean, the character, nowadays in the, I observe when those kids come to our school, they become, it seems to getting more wimpy. They're wimpy. So, again, for 10 years ago, they're not like that. I understand that nowadays those different lifestyle. So, in terms of kids, they are a little bit become wimpy. So how would you observe that?
So maybe, I can't comment on trend, but like, you guys, has anyone told you what cadets do here every day? It's like, so they typically wake up at like 5 in the morning. They, 5:30 in the morning. They get the room squared away. They have room inspection at 6. They have breakfast at like 6:45. Their classes from 7 to noon, 7:30 to noon. They have classes again from 2 to 4. If they're NCAA, they're in practice from 1500 to 1800. If you're not NCAA, you're doing some sort of sport from 4 to 6. My Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guys, after doing 2 hours of sports, will come roll for an hour and a half, then we'll also do homework till 1 in the morning. So if you're wimpy, you're not going to survive. Like, you just won't. So I can't comment on the trend because I didn't do that long. Yeah.
Well, here you get the best of the best. So that's not even a question of what kind of character you're going to get when they come here. The question that I had the first question I had was, plebe summer, how many people drop?
It's low.
Really low?
Yeah, the selection rate, I don't remember a percentage, but I would argue it's probably less than like 1%.
So plebe summer, they stay? Well,
yeah, because I mean, it's so competitive to get here. So number one, to get here, you have to have, a senator, Congress person recommendation or appointment, and then they get medically screened. And then, so most of them are here, will make it. Unless there's a couple, right, for psychological or maybe they get injured at home.
The other question that I had was, you were in the Marine Corps for a while.
Yep.
What made you leave the Marine Corps, and then what made you decide to join the Army?
Army paid for grad school.
Okay. But I mean, was it not a good experience in the end?
No, it was fantastic. But my idea was, my goal was to be a history teacher, like all along. So I literally just wanted to like wear a backpack. Nobody, when people say Washington marches on Army 100 miles, I wonder what that felt like. So I actually applied to become a Marine officer. I was that close to going. I was lifting one day at my university, and some like major saw me from the Army, ROTC. He's like, "Hey man, what do you do when you graduate?" I'm like, "I guess I'm going to OCS." He's like, "What do you mean you guess?" And I was like, "Well, I want to be a scholar one day. I wish I could go to grad school." He said, "Come talk to me."
So he recruited you?
Yeah. It was, Marine Corps is a little different, right? Some of the ideologies are a little bit different. But, in the end, we all do very similar jobs. Sir?
What are 1 or 2 tips you have for us as far as instilling discipline and character development?
1 or 2 what?
Tips. Do you have 1 or 2 tips for us to take back to our schools? Discipline. Teaching basic discipline.
What does discipline mean?
Yeah, I don't know.
So ask that. That's one thing, right? Yeah. The Marine Corps definition is instant will and obedience to orders. Why, right? So, like my kid's learning it right now, right? We just say, "Yes, sir." You guys sit back down. What's the purpose of that? Is the instructor mean, or is it showing you have to learn to follow where you can lead? Right? Like literally doing it. It's hard. Right? So that's one technique. Ask you, why do you have this? What's the importance? Do you need it? What's the other one?
The opportunity is basic character development.
Yeah. Yeah, but literally just like having conversations about why does it matter. So for character, for me, it's the big one I talked about earlier. It's that skill set that you're giving your students. Why is it important to be a person of character? Your wrong hand, right, at the 6, and then you focus, right? They don't touch the money on your students. Yeah.
Yeah, top 3 things you recommend to read around character development or leadership.
Top 3 things? To what?
To read. What would you
Oh, the read.
source?
There's a really good book called What Age Should Be Taught? So the one we use here is called Black Hearts, and I forget the name of the author. But Black Hearts, it's about a unit in Iraq who they end up committing like some atrocities in Iraq because of lack of leadership. That's a big one. I wrote a book called Siren Song, The War of War. If you want to learn more about all the war stories I did. But yeah, Black Hearts is like, that's a really good one.
What was your book?
It's called Siren Song, The War of War. But for military things, like, you have to write a book. I would argue it's probably better to do case studies. So you tell students, like, who's going to write a book for a leadership conference? I don't know, I'm not going to ask, I'm not going to question your integrity, but, like, not everyone reads it. So I think you get way more money out of looking at something happen, like we lie, right, with the Army of Vietnam, they commit some atrocities. Or look at things, like, this is these are military things, but look at something messed up that happens. 4 or 5 pages of PDF will give you miles as opposed to a book. Especially at the time, right? That you use your parents or kids. So I would look at, the military, we would study Black Hearts, New Lie, or those atrocities going on, things like that. What else? Yeah.
How do you guys typically handle the cadet who's the other end of the spectrum, where he's very arrogant, he's not easy to bend, and he's so full of himself?
They wouldn't last. Like, you can't make a figure by yourself. You absolutely, you will not make a figure by yourself. Just because you're going to need help. There's kryptonite for everyone here. So, who's afraid of heights in here? Great, yeah. So we're going to make you jump off like a 18-foot board. I'm afraid of heights. It's terrible, but you get over it. There's heights. There's rope climbing. Math is scary, right? Math terrifies me. I'm really, really strong. Right? I love lifting weights. But then you go running. Wow, this is terrible. I can't do this. So there's kryptonite for everybody. So if you have those students, everyone needs help at something, right? So they want to make the figure. So if you have those students, this is why as a leader, right, when you develop leaders, you have to take the time, when we say know your people, like for real, know your people. Right? This is hard. What are they good at, what are they not good at? And what they're bad at, you're not like, hey Billy, you're bad at jump front kick. I want to see you do that all the time. No, right? How do you develop that, right? How do you teach people the technique, break it down, step by, for example, how do you make a peanut butter jelly sandwich? How do you make one? 2 slices, right? But if people start with step by step by step, first you have to go to the store, right? Then you get the bread. Then the bread goes in the cupboard, right? And then you wait. But then you fry the jelly, right? And the peanut butter. So back, so step by step by step. So whatever, I turned around your question a little bit here. When you identify these weaknesses, reverse engineering the process. Like, for example, like jiu-jitsu, some of the moves are, because it's based on timing, right? But for example, we just say sometimes, hey, go to class, right? Right leg back, and go, right? But explain the mechanics of it, right? So, like a front punch, there's a lot of mechanics that goes into it, right? And we forget that, especially when we're teaching a Kunsei or form, reverse engineering goes step by step by step. Or if it's an armbar, or if it's a split, or a jump front kick.
I was interested in, since you came from the Marines, you didn't come through, you weren't a West Point graduate. Yep. So you came through a different path to come here as a professor. How do they indoctrinate you in the West Point way? Because you're embodying that as you teach it to the students.
Yeah. So what we do, I'm actually in charge of this summer. So like during the week, we take our instructors. It's called new instructor training. So literally we teach them. So when you go to grad school, like history or poli sci, no one teaches you how to teach. You're going to get a PhD, no one teaches you how to teach. Yeah, so we actually teach them how to teach. So we spend days, from different centers, talking about many of the characters that I talked about. I'm in charge of teaching them pedagogy. So we take 6 weeks. They typically are in July. I do that for about 6 weeks for all of that. So beyond initial training, we do assignments with them, right? So I'm a coach for martial arts. I also was called Phi Alpha Theta, which is like a history honor society. We take them on staff rides, like we'll go on helicopters and go like the Saratoga battlefield, we'll go to Gettysburg, we'll talk through that. In the summers, we train with them. So my first summer here, I went out to summer training and like marched with them, and I was like a bad guy, and I got to attack some of the defensive positions, which was a lot of fun. So you immerse yourself into the cadet training as well.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, you wrote a book called Boot Camp as well, right? And I have bought it, I haven't read it yet. A book that I really like is Making the Corps.
Yeah, it's
about Marine Boot Camp. Maybe give us some thoughts on that process, on molding. From my opinion, nobody's better than Marine Corps. I'm really socializing people into being part of the Corps right away.
So where the Marine Corps is different than many other branches of services is we do everything on their ideology. The Marine Corps has their own ideology. So what I talked about here, right, about 10 is you're being shot at, you're really scared. They essentially, you're inoculated that from the moment you get there. For example, getting dressed is stressful. So in the morning you wake up, right, you're online, and they're right, put your right sock on, you have 5, 4, 3, 2. Put your right sock on, you have 5, 4, 3, 2. Put your trousers on, you got 10, 9. So they keep that intensity with everything besides shooting. Right, so they have live weapons. When you shoot, for those who are marksmen or like hunting, you can't, you have to relax. Right? It's just when you fight, right? So what the Marine Corps has done, either scientifically or by chance, is that they've discovered a way to inoculate them into this. We give them like a synthetic, I call it a synthetic 1,000-yard stare. We're like, when you're a Marine, like, anyone know any Marines in here? There's something about them, right? Something. They all have this, and even if they didn't go to combat, they all have this thing. So I've talked to guys who went to boot camp like in the 50s or in the 80s, whether they're combat veterans or not, and we both had that shared synthetic, whatever you want to call it.
50 years later.
Yeah. And, amongst martial artists, right? I can probably sit down with one of you, and whether, we study the same art or not, we'll have that border thing in common, right? The way we stand, right? The way we look, even the way you might talk to people you don't know, or you're caught one leg back. Or, this looks like a non-threatening stance, but really it's a fighting stance because you're one leg back and you have one hand for a power hand.
Yeah. And so, from our standpoint, what do you see as some of the keys to, let's say, at the early black belt levels? And obviously, a lot of times, if we're dealing with a 7-year-old child, they're a lot different than an 18-year-old who got accepted to West Point. But at black belt level, we've had 4 years to mold them, or 5 years, or 6 years. It seems like an awful lot of what bringing a new cadet in is the things that we can do with our, say, first-degree black belts.
Yeah.
And how would you suggest that we replicate the 24/7 environment in 2 or 3 hours a week?
And one, it's hard.
Yeah.
Like, that's a challenge for you guys. We get them all the time, right? You guys get them, on Tuesday, Thursday from like 4 to 7, 4 to 5:30, right, 4 to 5. That's hard. So when you're doing your junior black belts, do they plan their lessons?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a part of it, right? Have them plan their lessons, but literally have them show, why are you doing front kicks, right? Why are you doing this, right? So have them, when you train a move, right? So why do you do a jab, right? Why do you do this? Have them have an end goal, right? So you're not just training punches for punches or kicks for kicks. Maybe the end state is a combination. Maybe it's a combination to a takedown. But I would say when they plan a lesson, maybe have them plan 5 lessons with a progression of that training, right? So they talk about character once. It's not just, like my kid, right? It's hilarious. He's 4, and he tell me how he focuses his eyes, mind, and body. And like that repetition, right? If you're a parent that's know about martial arts, like, wow, they're having my kid repeat stuff. But why? Right? So that constant, just drilling punches, you're drilling the character values, you're drilling that lesson planning at a higher level. And again, you make them defend it, and then ask, what else can you do? How can you make it more interesting? Is it just stretch, techniques, play a game, which is good, right? But why? What is the game doing, right? Everything has a purpose. Yeah.
Any other questions? So always you put a room full of martial arts
Yeah,
instructors who are
Yeah.
in front of
But you can ask whatever you want. Yeah.
Do you, as an instructor here, do you feel that you can identify martial arts practitioners as opposed to those that are not martial arts practitioners when they go to
Absolutely. They have that thing, right? What do we call that thing? I think we probably just put it as presence, right? But they have it. I had it when I was 18. You know what I mean? Like even to the point where like, do you guys know what pizza sticks are? Like it's like a bow staff, like shorter, with like little pads that have it. And like even there, you know, like, I remember my combinations from doing bow staff. They apply to bayonet fighting. It's just shorter bow. So you can even the guys who are fought for the first time, whether it's boxing or pizza sticks, you know when you connect with them. You know the first time you roll with someone, or if you square up on somebody, you're like, okay, wow, this is gonna be hard. You know, I'm gonna have to use more than like, you know, my strength, right? You'll see them when they talk, when they fight, and how they carry themselves. Like I had it, and you know, it's like Highlander, so I think that sounds a little nerdy, but you can sense each other. It's really weird. No, you can. Like absolutely, you know.
Do you feel like that gives them an edge coming in?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's honestly, short of marching, you guys are doing military art. I mean, I love seeing my kid doing it. I mean, so these are, you know, katas came because it's the easiest way to teach hundreds of people how to do effective techniques, and you can watch it from a stage. It's essentially we march in our modern military because when we march, it's not just to look pretty, right, or to look nice, but it's to take up combat formations, right? You literally get online while we're not, you know, marching that slow, but in movies like Gettysburg or Patriot, we still get online, right, and adopt formations for fire hearts. The easiest way to control fire is to make a solid line. Yes, sir.
If you had a student that was at a high level of martial arts that was going to come to West Point, what would that do as far as would they continue with that, or would they change and have to adapt to what they're teaching?
What they want. So we have a judo team, we have jiu-jitsu, we have karate, we have taekwondo, we have kendo, we have fencing, we have submission grappling, we have boxing. What am I forgetting now? We have keto. We don't have a keto. We could though. If one of you commit,
start the kung fu.
if one of you, if one of you commission, become an officer, then come back in a few years, you can do it. Yeah. So there's opportunities for that, right?
That was the question.
And these are lifelong skills, right? It's fun. I still grapple with my 21-year-olds, 22-year-olds. It's not fun.
My students about to go to ROTC.
Oh, good, yeah.
We do kung fu.
Yeah.
And we're trying to see if we can possibly start a club.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, soldiers love doing it for physical training. Besides just running and lifting weights, it's fun, and you can make them creative. Like we've done things where we actually take it's called they look like rifles and bow staffs combined. So we literally put like hockey masks on and pads, and we run like 3 miles, and we spar with bayonets like that, and or we're going to grappling. So make it fun. Even for you all, if you're thinking of like different workshops to do, like a fun drill you could do, I used to do with my soldiers, is go at like sunset, like low light conditions, get in like 4 groups of like 7 or 10, have them do chain running, where like the last guy sprints up, and you jog, right? You blow a whistle, you have them come middle field, they grapple. You blow the whistle, they have to go find their teams. So make it creative. Even for you all, if you want, think about offsites, you take your junior instructors, take them away from the dojo for a couple hours. Like, take them on a hike. Like somewhere. I mean, you're in the Hudson Highlands. You know what I mean? Maybe, spar outside the dojo, but when they're tired. Yeah, I mean, make or for high level training, make them tired first, right? Resemble that training. Make them sprint a mile for time, then spar. That's which is horrible. It's good training down here.
We do paintball on
yeah.
And do you find that when they go through the application process, do the people that deal with the applications look at martial arts students more highly, or does that affect them? Because we have students that might be applying to.
So I never worked in this, but I would say any leadership opportunities, right? Whether it's Eagle Scout or black belts, I think they look favorable.
Instructor, assistant instructor certification.
They would look favorable on that. I never worked in admissions, but I would guess that would be favorable. And plus, there's a good interview, right? As they're going through their congressional district, when they get interviewed, they can have it. If they taught, right? Teaching is awesome, right? I come up here to say anything and I just feel confident, which is weird and also very dangerous. But it gives you a thing, right? Remember first I teach in a class, like, okay guys, stretch. But now literally I can teach a class in the Elmo voice and feel fine. Yeah, I'm not sure what that meant, but see, there you go.
Okay.
Go ahead, sir. Yeah.
So, what's your structure with your jiu-jitsu students? Right? Most of them don't come in and don't know jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
So do you have them roll and give you for 6 weeks?
No. So what we do is warm-up stretch, position drills. Hey guys, this is mount. Keep mount for 5 minutes. Good. You keep mount until you can't keep mount, right? Now you're in guard. Your job is not submission, kill that guy in guard. So in any martial art, we're like running, right? If you're terrible at running and your running coach makes you do wind sprints, you're gonna hate it, right? So if they don't have the skills, right, do position training for a little bit, right? Step by step, right? Because guard, except for a wrestler, you're not coming like that, right? It's like kind of deep program. Yeah. So we do a lot of position training, then techniques, then a little bit of regulatory.
What is the male to female ratio in the cadet space, and also in terms of physical training? Are there different expectations on the females versus the males, or is it?
So right now they're about 25% of the core. So we got about minus 4,000 ish. 25% of this incoming class are female. For this physical training, yeah, it's a little bit different. The run times, like to get 100 points as a male, I think it's like 13 points on a 2-mile run for female. They get more time, less push-ups, less sit-ups. But the Army's coming out with a gender-neutral PT program, which will be implemented in about 2 years. Yeah, for right now, yes, though. Yes.
What is the hardest obstacle to overcome for cadets? The hardest thing from a military standpoint, where they're going to be out there in a combat situation and teaching to get past.
The hardest thing is they always ask, what's it going to be like? And, you can come up here and have cool stories or be really charismatic when you talk. But like you, can I prepare you by what's going to feel like when you're punching your nose for the first time? Kind of.
Can't Google it either.
Yeah, you can't, but you just try it. What you say is, have faith in your training, have faith in your comrades, and have faith in your... For example, who would think running into a burning house is psychotic? I think it's pretty crazy. However, people make professions out of that. Right? So how do you get a fire company to do that? Right? So I would say training, camaraderie, trust in their equipment. It's the same thing. Like, if you're being shot at, you should probably run away. But we're telling you not to. Right? So how do you override? So I think, for me, that's what they wonder about. They wonder. And the best, what I tell them is you're not alone. Right? They're called sergeants. These are guys and gals who've been employed, who might have 5 or 15 more years of experience than you, and they help you. Right? Part of their job is to help develop you to become a major or colonel one day general. So when you're a lieutenant, you're not left out on your own. And the guys and gals, they know what to do. You're not going to be shot at and say, "All right, man, return." But no, they're going to return fire on their own because they're really highly trained. Anything else? Ma'am.
I'm curious, what are your next steps in your career?
So now I was an infantry officer, intelligence officer, counterintelligence officer. Now I'm a strategic intel officer. So the weird thing about the military is that it's fun being an officer because they purposely immerse us in different skill sets. So I went from being essentially a SWAT team leader with machine guns to being an intel officer, making maps and giving briefs, to being a company commander for 300 guys, to being a professor and a coach. So now I go to, next year I go to grad school for a year on strategic intelligence. They do jobs like at the CIA, DIA, Pentagon, and big jobs like that. But I hope to teach you.
The average professor at West Point, how long will they be here?
So we have a couple of different professors. So first we have civilian, right? So, so any aspiring historians or poli-sci or whatever, You can get recruited sometimes right out of your PhD, right? They try out for 3 years, then you're in, right? You have rotating faculty like me, right? So typically, come from the operational environment, we'll hang out, So first, for most people, they go to grad school for 2 years, then they teach 2 or 3 years, then they go back. Then you have the permanent military, who are colonels, and then maybe they tie here like me as a captain and a major, and then they go off and they do major things and lieutenant colonel things for about 5, 6 years, have their PhD, then they come back here and they can work till like they're 60.
Oh.
So it's very, very competitive.
But that's what you'd like to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See.
But there's because there's not that many positions. How many faculty are there?
I mean, the history department, I think we actually have one of the biggest history departments in the country. I think there's like 40 of us, but we only have like 15 students in the classroom. So when we teach, I don't like when I teach Asian Greece. It's not like, hey guys, this is your shield, right? No, it's why do they fight this way, right? What social values inspire this kind of content?
So a big chunk of the faculty is going back out in the field, so to speak, and then rotating through.
Yep.
So what percentage of professors would you say are fresh from active duty or some sort of combat position?
Probably about, I'd say more than half.
More than half.
Yeah. Because it's relevant, especially in the 21st century when we're constantly going out.
Sure.
The students want to see the guys and gals who've done the things.
Right.
What percent of faculty are male and female?
I don't have percentages. I mean, like probably I'd say maybe a quarter. Probably the same. Just because there's less women in the military, right? That's just the.
But it's about the same as the rest of the military.
Yeah, about the same.
What's your favorite era of history to study?
Antiquity, so ancient Greece and Rome. So particularly, I'm intrigued. As a martial artist and as a professor, the reason why I wanted combat experience is when I read about Caesar, or Alexander, or Xenophon, or Hannibal. I wondered number one, I'm intrigued by combat. Number two, can I look at people in their eyes and be like, hey man, like we're gonna go out there and do some things. Let's go. I wonder if I could do that. Like the heroes of Europe in antiquity. Yes.
Can you tell us if it's okay with some of your faculty?
Yeah, that's CIB. That's something you get shot at. This is, I call it the enemy marksmanship badge. If you get wounded in combat, that's Bronze Star for doing stuff in combat. You get this for not getting in trouble for 3 years. There's a couple ones there. Yeah. This is the terrorism badge. Yeah.
What's the rate of
That's this one?
Yeah.
I think it's overseas. Overseas service. Hope I'm right. Yes.
What motivates you in your career?
So, number one, the history part, right? So for me, the cadaver line I talked about, like martial arts. For me, since I can't replicate battles, right? So when you look at a general and you watch, you're like, oh, Lee's a moron, right? Give that charge, whatever. So for me, history is a cadaver for military officers, right? So, because these guys are getting in a fighting, am I going to throw a hook? Am I going to shoot? Am I going to back up? Am I going to dance a little bit? That's at the fighting. But honestly, martial arts is perfect because it gives you that mind. Am I going to attack with a platoon or a division, or am I going to do a frontal attack on a beach in France, right? June 6, 1944. Like that didn't just happen. Like somebody made that call. So for me, it's a cadaver. You know what I mean? So I'm constantly when I'm teaching. It's not just me, yelling at people talking about the Romans. It's not an argument. I sincerely believe it's arming them to save lives one day. I really believe it. It sounds a little out there, but I really believe that.
Are you competitive?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Do you have a karate or Brazilian jiu-jitsu combat story?
Combat story?
Martial arts.
I mean, like in training?
No, like in combat, did you ever have?
Oh, in combat. Okay. No, I never had to. I have a couple of buddies who've done it. Like, I still one of my friends who went into a room in Iraq, and two guys put in a room, and they went in, and his rifle malfunctioned, which happens sometimes. Not a big deal. So he rotated to his pistol, and his pistol malfunctioned. So it's happening in seconds, right?
I know that.
The second guy came in and tripped over a chair. So he came in, he did like a clinch takedown. He just like kind of grabbed the guy around his head and like headbutted him and like, take the Japanese term, but he swept him. And then he took him out and like finished the deal. Like real quick. Yes.
In history, who are your favorite generals or historical figures that you would recommend to leaders that
Two books.
junior officers?
Yeah, 2 books. Number 1 is Julius Caesar. It's called The Gallic War. So like I've actually mapped the entire thing. I go to France and like I make 360 like tours of it. It's called Julius Caesar's Gallic War.
What is it? Gallic.
Gallic War.
Gallic War.
Yeah, if you look up Caesar Gallic War, you'll see it. Amazing. You can get it for free. You know, but it's a great book. It has everything you want. And then Xenophon. It's called The Anabasis, A-N-A-B-A-S-I-S, and it's a really cool story. The story is these like 10,000 mercenaries march from Turkey to Baghdad, and they fight because the Persians hired them, and they win this battle, but the king who hired them died, so they have to make this fighting retreat in enemy territory to the Black Sea. And it happened for real. It happened in 401 BC. It's great. You're reading English. It's awesome. And of course, it's Lillian.
You know, our current Secretary of Defense, General Mattis, I've heard him referred to as the Warrior Monk.
Yeah.
Describe, for everybody who's not familiar, how much education, training, higher education, reading, study of history permeates the higher levels of our military.
I mean, it's huge. Look at me, like, you know, I've had 2 years of graduate school, teaching here, now teaching. So I've had 2 years of grad school, my 4 years of teaching, right? So you don't really know a topic until you teach it. I don't care if you're teaching a form for the first time or, you know, teaching degrees or whatever. Then I'll do another year, so that's what, 2, 6, 7 years. So I've only been active duty for 16, and 7 of those years I've been doing academia.
One of the articles I read about General Mattis was about how big a library he carried with him and where he was in.
It's important to read. We don't, especially it's hard to read because in the 21st century we can waste time and become happy by doing this with a smartphone. Right? It's what we all do it. You know, it's a way to zone out. I would challenge you to read. Like, you know what I mean? It's something they've been telling people since, you know, since books, right? Since the first printing presses. But it really broadens your perspective. Right? Like, literally, you go to university to pay thousands of dollars to have people interpret your books for you. There's more to it than that. But, you know, I mean, just read. I mean, it'll sharpen you, whether it's martial arts, whether it's history. So, you know, learn more about your art. You know, do you know where your art came from? Do you know why, you know, what nunchucks are really for? You know, not fighting. Yeah.
Yes, in your speech you talked about leading by example, you talked about being competent in your craft, developing leaders and inspiring leaders, and then, of course, growing. How do you see that in tiers from the plebes all the way to first class? Okay. And how do you see it developed?
So West Point is entirely laboratory for leadership. So when they're plebes, they don't have leadership. They come here and, you know, it's through boot camp or so on, but in boot camp, it's the other classes who are literally, like the officers are there, the officers and like professional sergeants are watching training, but they do everything. So the second year, they're corporals, which means they have 1 or 2 people under them, right? So that summer, they'll actually be in charge of a team doing stuff in the woods. Their third summer, like they're planning the training. Like there's 21-year-olds, like 6 of them, who plan the movement of 1,500 people, 13 miles. Which sounds, I don't know, that sounds hard, but how do you feed? How do you make sure there's water? How do you make sure if Billy sprains his ankle or has heat stroke, how do you get them out within 10 minutes? So they're in charge of someone, except for plebes, right? They have limited leadership because they're essentially like the guinea pigs for the upperclassmen to lead. So they're doing that the entire, so when they're off class, they don't go back to their dorm and chill out. They have military duties here. So plebes, they're cleaning, there's a second-year guy in charge of all that, there's a third-year guy planning on the training, the fourth-year guy is like the officer. So every time they're here, and so for your own instructors, you know, challenge them. You know, these kids, or your junior black belts, they're smart, right? They got it. You know, give them more. Maybe see how much they can handle. It's, you know, so if you're a junior black belt, I'm sorry, but you know, it's a part of the gig, right? You know, you have to be challenged. You know, maybe give them on purpose too much of you, to where they say, will they have that courage to say, hey, sir, like, this is too much? Because as a leader, you know, I remember being up in Afghanistan, we were like going out for 30 days in a row, and my commander gave me a mission, and I just told him, like, sir, you know, we'll do it, but here's why we shouldn't, right? So how do you say no professionally, right? That's a technique.
Any more questions? Thank you so much.